Will I talk now? Will I, Dave? Morning to you, Dave.
Morning, Keith. You're welcome back. The
Dave,
bear's back on top of the mint.
What did you say?
The bear's back on top of the mint.
Okay, foxes gloss your mints, yeah. Anyway, morning to you. We have a lot on financing today. We're going to kind of trickle through it fairly quickly. I'm a pensioner with a few bob to invest. We asked Dave McCarthy where I would get the best possible deposit rate for a year. Thank you.
Well, excuse me. In fact, actually, that relates to another question we have, which is in a similar vein about deposit rates falling. All I will say is that if you need to leave the money on deposit, you might get about 3 to 3.5% for a year. The problem there is that deposit rates are dropping and will drop considerably over the next year. A lot of the banks are offering about 3.5% for a year. But
it depends on the amount of money they want to invest for that year.
Yeah, well, generally, for any amounts over 20,000, you'll get that rate. But if you need to, or if you have the ability to be able to invest that for a longer period of time, there are a number of capital guaranteed investments out there. So it depends on your circumstances. It depends on your outlook in relation to how long you can invest the money. But 3.5% is about as much as you'll get roughly for a year at the moment. But be prepared to see deposit rates fall after that.
Okay, the fear factor in making financial decisions. People they're very hesitant now to make.
Well, I just want to talk about that in the sense of what decisions some people made over the last 2 years. As we know, we've seen a huge amount of fear people have taken on board in relation to the Irish banks and in relation to the euro in particular. And I just want to kind of give a wake-up call to people and say, look, the Irish banks are still functioning. There are deposit guarantees in place. Depositors have not lost any money, and they won't. The euro is still in place. And no matter what happens in relation to Europe, I don't believe for a second the euro is going to disappear for all the reasons I've mentioned in the past. But if you made a decision out of fear, the chances are you might have moved your money into another currency. You may or may not have made money, but you've exposed yourself to considerable risk. And if you moved it into another currency, you will have been receiving a very poor return on it, because deposit rates in other countries are much lower than here. So if you react out of fear, generally 9 times out of 10 it's the wrong decision, because you're not thinking rationally. So for those people who did, as I said, take a step which wasn't really suitable for them in the past, some of them are possibly living to regret it, maybe others are not. But I would just caution against anybody who's nervous about the issues that I just mentioned, and try and give them some reassurance that the world isn't going to end on Monday morning in relation to the euro or anything of that sort, and not to be, I suppose, relying on your nerves to make a financial decision. It's a very dangerous thing to do.
Okay, we've a worried person on to us. They've been on to us twice this morning. I signed a letter of guarantee for my daughter and son-in-law's mortgage. They're now in arrears, and I'm concerned as to what might happen in respect of my guarantee. Now, that's common across the country.
It is. This is a very common situation, and unfortunately, during the good times, people had a tendency to help out their son or daughter for obvious reasons, because they were in a stronger position themselves financially to help their offspring, and sign letters of guarantee in relation to their mortgage. And the problem now, as you know, is that quite a number of people find themselves in financial difficulty, and in this case, if the loan goes into considerable arrears and it gets to a stage where the bank is beginning to move in relation to the security, the bad news is they could call in that letter of guarantee, and in a lot of cases they are doing so. But it's important that your son, his daughter and son-in-law, go in and talk to the bank and discuss their situation, try to come to some sort of an arrangement so that doesn't happen. It's in their interest as much as in yours, but it's a terrible situation for somebody to find themselves in, who is maybe later on in life, probably are in this particular case, and have met all their own financial obligations in the past, and now find themselves having to pick up on possibly the financial obligations of their offspring.
Okay, finally, somebody wants to know that they have some cash and they want to turn it into dollars, and they're wondering what's Dave's opinion on buying hard cash, i.e. dollars?
Well, first of all, if you're buying a foreign currency, you're playing the currency markets and you're exposing yourself to considerable risk. That's the reality. Exchange rates move up and down every minute of the day. So if you're prepared to take on that risk, well, that's your decision, but don't automatically think that your money is secure just because you bought dollars, because, as I said, the dollar rate has changed. If I go back over the last few months, it's moved from, I think it's around 126 now, and it was as low as 121. So, I mean, if you had bought at 121, you're losing money today. The other thing is, if you're buying cash, you're going to get a worse rate than if you were buying or putting it into a dollar account. But, the reality of it is, a bank does not like to see you walking with a lot of cash. So those questions are going to be asked if you do that.
All right. And if you want to contact Jim McCarthy, 566022 is the telephone number for independent financial advice. And you can get their newsletter and all. Just give them a call or check out their financialconsultants.ie website as well. Dave, thanks for joining us this morning.
In business, knowledge really is power. At Bank of Ireland, we have over 220